Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your hidden hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today, the truth will be revealed, for better or worse. First, I will travel to the assumed Zootopia of Anima City, where beastmen live in harmony free from the oppression of humanity. Or are they? Let's find out together in my review of Brand New Animal. And after that, John will list the trials and tribulations of a young father with a dark secret, which, under no circumstances, he wants his young daughter to uncover. Can he keep up the wild charade? Well, John might or might not let you know in his review of Kakushigoto. Sounds like a bunch of truth bombs to be dropped on all of us, so don't pause the pod, we'll be right back. Beastmen, humanoid animals who we have been sharing our world with since the beginning of time, have been oppressed and ostracized since they fully revealed themselves to the human public. To live peacefully among themselves, they now have sought refuge in Anima City, a melting pot of different species of beastmen, freed from the shackles of humanity. When a young Tanuki beastman girl named Michiru arrives in the city and crosses paths with a mysterious social worker and wolf beastman Shiro, the unlikely pair is thrust into a tempest of weird science experiments, religious cults, and racial conflict. Can the two uneven partners uncover the truth and liberate Anima City from the dark chains that strangle its roots? And will their own hidden secrets tear them apart, or forge a stronger bond than they could have imagined? So yeah, Brand New Animal, or BNA, is an original anime, so not based on a manga or a light novel or whatever. It counts 12 episodes and is animated by Studio Trigger, which we have mentioned many times in the past. Promare, most recently Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, Space Patrol Luluco, and some not so favorable entries like Kiznaiver and Darling in the Franxx, though the latter was a co-pro between them and A1, so jury's still out on who's to blame here.
Man, I forgot Kiznaiver even existed.
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, none of us finished that. Like,
no.
4 or 6 episodes or something, I don't know.
I don't remember how far I got.
Yeah, maybe not even that. Anyway, BNA was directed by Yo Yoshinari, who was also the director of Little Witch Academia, a show we both watched and both at least liked. I'm not sure. Did it make best of the season?
I don't think it did. I think we kind of decided that the movies / specials were better.
Yeah. It was alright, but you know, some things didn't pay off or weren't as great, and I wasn't a fan of the main character. So anyway, yeah, he did that. He did some Gurren Lagann stuff, some Neon Genesis Evangelion stuff. I mean, Trigger is ex-Skynex, so that makes sense. Some episodes of Panty and Stocking, and a bunch of other credits for key animation and storyboards. And as you would expect from a Trigger show helmed by him, BNA boasts some super colorful artwork and sometimes incredibly fluid, wacky action sequences. I think Little Witch Academia and Space Patrol Luluco aside, this is as cartoony as Trigger gets, which lends itself incredibly well to a cast that is mostly comprised of animals walking on 2 legs. There are a lot of funny expressions going around in this show, lots of slapstick. I want to say Looney Tunes-esque humor, the more comedy-focused episodes, particularly Wild One that's about baseball. But also vividly dark and grim scenes that profit from high color contrast, with a lot of neon pink or neon blue thrown in the mix, which is kind of a rare thing, I feel like, in anime, which is like this just black and neon blue and neon pink stuff. It's like really eye-catching in this show. Yeah, all of it looks super energetic. The action is fast-paced, but mostly easy to follow. There are a lot of cool transformations from human to beast forms and morphing effects, especially when Michiru and Shiro use their given power sets. It's all really engaging to look at, as you would expect from Trigger at this point, because that is kind of their thing. Big, energetic, sometimes very wacky action stuff with a lot of high contrast colors. So, I mean, Promare was fucking all of that.
Yeah, it was that dialed up to like 110, 50.
Yeah, pretty much. The music is also pretty good, which is done by Mabanua, who also worked on Kids on the Slope and Megalobox. The OP Ready to Go by Sumire Morohoshi is a banger. And the ED Night Running by Ami, I assume it's just me or something. I don't know how that is a nice finish for each episode. And is also surprisingly featured prominently in the story, which I don't think I've seen done that much in anime before. I mean, idol and music-themed shows aside, maybe. Carol and Tuesday did that, of course. And I assume Love Live or Idol Master feature some of their EDs or OPs as performances in the show itself as well. John, you are the expert on that regard, so...
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, especially the Idol Master, which was a show that had a different ending theme every episode. It was, so... I got to talk about that show another time because I could just derail us entirely. But yes, okay. Very.
Looking forward to that. But yeah, regardless, it was a neat touch and serves as a decent vehicle for some character development for two of the most important characters in the show. So, good idea there. Now, the script was written by 3 people. First and foremost, Kazuki Nakashima, who wrote 8 episodes. And it's a serious composition. He also was the writer of Promare, Kill la Kill, and Gurren Lagann. So he definitely has the chops. And he was aided by Kimiko Ueno, who also wrote scripts for Carol and Tuesday, Space Patrol Luluko, and Space Dandy. And the second helper was Nanami Higuchi, who wrote scripts for Ninja Slayer and did all the writing and serious composition for the adaptation of Beastars. So you definitely have capable people at the helm, writing-wise as well as on the directional side of things. So what is Brand New Animal about? As you might have surmised from the summary, this is the other furry anime besides Beastars in recent seasons. Somewhat kind of about the same stuff, but not necessarily, not really necessarily a bit here and there when it comes to being true to yourself and the bestials stuff inside and everything. Like there are some shared themes here, but the tone is completely different. Like Beastars is a very grim, sometimes somber, but mostly very grounded teen angst or story in a way. And, very, very much a love drama and everything. And BNA is none of that. It's just fucking trigger hijinks, and then there is some more stuff that they're trying to do. Successfully? Well, we'll see about that. So, Anima City, where all this is set, is a special world of, I don't even know, I think it's Tokyo, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was established like 10 years ago before the show starts. And this is basically like this melting pot of, imagine your New York, but just with different kinds of animals instead of different kind of, human races. And yeah, we start off the show seeing Michiru escaping beast-hating and beast-hunting humans. And she gets rescued by a mink beastman trafficker called Mari. And she ships her to Anima City. And Michiru is really happy when she arrives there because she sees everyone is celebrating a festival, like all different kinds of animals in harmony. Everyone is having fun, a bunch of fun. There seems to be no hidden animosity between carnivores and herbivores, like in Beastars, which, is a big thing. It's like one of the most important things is Beastars. That doesn't exist here. Nevertheless, the peace doesn't last long. The festival is attacked by terrorists, and after rescuing Michiru from some falling debris, our second main character, Shiro, hunts those guys down, finds out that they are beastmen who have been funded by humans, because he can smell that, and tears them a new one, because Shiro really hates humans with a passion. We get to learn why much later in the show. And yeah, of course, a kick-ass fight scene ensues. And then, Michiru stops him from slicing them to pieces. And those two end up sticking together. He finds her home at the place where he also lives, I believe, with that nice couple of a koala lady and a rooster dude. And in case you were wondering, whoa, what must their children look like?
Oh boy.
There are no mixed beastmen. If, for example, a lion and a tiger beastmen crossbreed, there is either a lion or a tiger baby, not a liger baby. So no roosteralas here either, which is a blessing and a curse, I guess, because it sometimes might have been fun to draw, and on the other hand, sometimes might have given birth to some truly nightmarish creatures.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like it could have been a missed opportunity, maybe.
Maybe. I think in the hands of Trigger, probably more leaning towards the missed opportunity than to, whoa, dodge that bullet. Because that could have been some fun creature design there. Super wacky stuff. Anyway, they don't do that, which, yeah, okay. Still would have liked to see what a Roosterala looked like. Anyway, although there are enough nightmarish creatures in the latter half of the show, believe me. Anyway, Shiro sometimes works for the mayor of Anima City, also sometimes for the police, because he has a special set of skills, as you can imagine. No, he's not Liam Neeson, but anyway, first and foremost, his fighting prowess, which is demonstrated in the first episode, but also his incredible sense of smell. And the way that is portrayed is super cool. It's very Daredevil-esque, like shapes of the things he smells form before his eyes, and he, like, out of this steam, this mist, and he can also basically see everything a person or an object has touched, so he can kind of look into the past of anything he smells. It's neat, and there is even more to his power set, which I don't want to give away. And then there's Michiru, who has some weird powers as well. She can puff up her tail and use it as a cushion. She suddenly learns how to stretch her arms. It makes you wonder, at least in the beginning, if she's just capable of doing all the things that a Tanuki or that Tanuki are associated with in myths and legends. But later she also learns to change her legs into that of a cheetah, or her arms into bird wings, and no other beastmen can do that. They can freely change between a fully human appearance and their beast form, which Michiru initially can't, but they can just adapt skills of different species like that. So something is definitely up with Michiru. And she also insists that she was human before, which Shiro says can't be, because humans are born humans and beastmen are born beastmen. Humans suddenly transforming into beastmen is unheard of. So yeah, most of the show is about uncovering the secrets behind Michiru's origin. Why she has this weird set of powers, who's responsible for that, how that figures into the shady things going on behind the scenes in Anima City. And it's, on a surface level, not a bad mystery. I mean, some of it is predictable. As soon as we are introduced to a pair of scientists in the second or third episode who freak the fuck out when they see Michiru, some things are very predictable. This is not a new disease or something. Someone obviously did that to Michiru and also her best friend Nazuna, who got ostensibly abducted by a bunch of men in suits after transforming to a beastman for the first time. So after that, it's more about finding out why this was done to her, what happened to her friend, and so on. And even though, like I said, some of it is predictable, the details and the true motives of the obvious villain of the show are held back for quite a while. You can kind of quickly deduce the what and the who, but not the why. And yeah, that's not bad. That's neat. That keeps things kind of interesting. And yeah, you got some pretty cool main characters. There's, like I said, Michiru, who is energetic and brash, but also very sympathetic. You got Shiro, who is your typical cool, no-nonsense man of a few words, like detective type. He has a pet crow called Kuro. Shiro and Kuro, get it. He's also, he is a social worker, but like I said, also an outside advisor for the police at the mayor, so more like a merc or private eye. And yeah, Shiro and Michiru have like a rough start. Like they really don't see eye to eye in the beginning when it comes to certain things. Like Shiro wants her to stay put because he is afraid what will happen if knowledge spreads that she was turned from a human into a beast man. Like if this is actually a disease, then, you know, humans probably would obviously become afraid, and also the beast man maybe, and then shit would stir. So he wants to actually he locks her into a closet in the beginning. He's like, no, you're staying here. You're too dangerous. And she's like, no, fuck that. And but eventually they work it out. So, and they do some missions together and everything, and they become friends. So it's cool. And in the first half, we are introduced to a bunch of potentially neat side characters, like that human trafficker Mari, the Ming, for example, or the mayor, who I have no idea what kind of animal she's supposed to be. Like her assistant is like an armadillo, or what are they called? Pangolins or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I have no fucking clue. I don't know what she's supposed to be. Anyway, yeah, she's pretty neat. The nice couple that Shiro and Michiru live with. There are a bunch of bears who play baseball. There's the albatross Pinga. So a bunch of colorful side characters. The sad thing is, the show doesn't do that much interesting stuff with them. Some of them play a bigger role in the later part of the story, but we don't really learn much about them. They mostly feel like decoration on the side. The show fucks around a bit, like in the first couple of episodes with the aforementioned baseball episode and one about Michiru befriending the daughter of a mob boss she met on Facebook. But none of these characters feel really developed or like they are super relevant to the story, which was a bit of a downer. I feel like the series would have profited from twice the number of episodes, so 24 instead of 12. They try to immediately show you that not everything is honky-dory in Anima City, that it's mostly survival of the fittest and the weak get left by the wayside. But I feel like they should have spent some more time to give the plot and city itself more texture. And don't get me wrong, all these characters are fun on a surface level, but we basically don't know anything about them to help form a connection with them. It's all a bit flat and hollow after you think about it a bit and you let it sink in a bit. Speaking of characters we don't really know that much about, even though Shiro is not the main protagonist, that being Michiru, he is incredibly important to the later part of the story, and he also feels kind of flat. I mean, his background story is neat, I guess, but we really only learn about it in the last couple of episodes, and before that we don't really learn anything about him besides him being a badass and that he really hates humans for some reason. But ultimately, his character and his motivations feel rather weak, which was a big disappointment to me. I thought there was some more stuff to him, but they really don't do a lot with him. Like, the focus is on Michiru, which isn't bad, because she's an interesting character. Like, yeah. Luckily, Michiru is a damn strong main protagonist, and her relationship to her best friend Nazuna and how the relevance of that relationship comes into play once the cult of Ginro is revealed, which is this mythical Beastman savior. Ginro is in the shape of a silver wolf. You can see where that plot thread is probably going when it relates to one of the characters. Anyway, yeah, that relationship and the character development is really good, and that's also where the great ED is used most effectively, because it's Michiru's and Nazuna's song they always listen to together. So overall, I liked their story and how it wrapped up. But Shiro was kind of let down. It's just basically, yeah, he's this badass character, and he's there for plot reasons. But aside of that, from that, there's not much going on with him, and I expected more from that. When it comes to the general plot and the deeper themes, BNA is a very mixed bag in my opinion. It becomes clear very quickly that a lot of this is about racism and overcoming prejudice. I mean, the obvious bad guy of the show, Alan Silverstar, which is spelled Sylvasta, and I could have sworn it should be Silverstar, but, it says, on the logo for his company, it says Sylvasta, so I guess that's what it is. All right. Anyway, Alan Sylvasta, and that is not a spoiler, people. You see that guy and you know immediately that he is the villain and that he's the guy behind it all. You just don't know why. But anyway, he is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Aryan-as-hell Nazi motherfucker. And that kind of lines up with what he eventually turns out to be and what he's trying to do and the methods he is using. But some of the subtext gets pretty damn muddled in the final couple of episodes. The Beastmen are the oppressed minority because the humans are afraid of them, because they perceive them as violent animals. But no, everyone in Anima City is really peaceful, but suddenly they are not. So the Beastmen are inherently violent after all. So the fear of the humans was justified. But they shouldn't try to change what the Beastmen are anyway. None of it really comes together in the end. And
this really does sound like they tried to do Promare again.
Yes, but not as well thought out, in my opinion. Yeah. They had more episodes. They could have gone more into detail on that, but it all feels like a bit like they were running in several different directions, and none of it comes together in the end. And some statements, if put in a real-world context, are just downright weird and worrying. Like, if Beastmen are some kind of minority, quote-unquote, threatening to, quote-unquote, normal people, what is the series trying to say? There is no reason to take away their freedom, even though they really do become violent and dangerous if you mix them together in a big multicultural city? Should have stopped after the first part there, Nakashima. That doesn't feel well thought out. It's like, could have finished more, not as controversially there. Anyway, it seems like Trigger tried to tackle a bunch of thoughts on individualism, race, and liberal ideas, and some of it works, but they either don't follow through on some of that stuff, and some of the most important stuff, or they get lost in their own analogies, which takes away from the power of the stance they're assumedly trying to take on all of that. And it's kind of a bummer. And like you said, Promare tried to go for something similar with the Brandish, which makes sense, since Nakashima wrote that as well. But pulled it off more effectively for the most part, I believe. Although...
I mean, especially when you're describing Sylvester, and I'm like, wait, so Cray Foresight?
Yep, pretty much. Pretty fucking much. Even more into the fucking elitist white supremacist side of things when it comes to ideology and origin of that character, as it turns out ultimately. You know, Cray, after all, was kind of more an asshole with a grudge more than anything. But Sylvester is really something different. But you're right, there are definitely parallels here. A lot of parallels between the show in general and Promare. And come to think of Promare, some of the things it was saying were getting kind of muddled at the very end as well. I think both of us came, like, from the stuff that happens at the very end, came away from it like, okay, but why that?
Yeah.
What? Okay, so far this made sense, but what were you trying to say with that final thing at that closing point? That was, that didn't fit together with the rest. And I had the same feeling coming out of BNA. Only worse, kinda. In Promare, you didn't really care because of all the impressive fireworks, I guess. But yeah, instead of leaving you with the feeling that BNA had something worthwhile and positive to say, it leaves you scratching your head with a, alright, I guess, maybe, or not. It's like, I have to think about that a bit more, I guess. But it's not super clear, and some of the stuff doesn't really feel well thought out. So, yeah. Brand New Animal is an okay, fun show, but probably a bit too overambitious for its own good. The action is riveting. There's not as much in there as you might think. There's kind of an action piece in most episodes, but you can't compare it to what happens in Promare or whatever. I mean, that's a movie, that's not fair. And there's a bunch of cool action scenes, like I said, in BNA as well. But, some of this is more on focus on the character side of things, of Michiru and her friend and everything. And that's good stuff. But the other stuff is hijinks and, fun stuff happening. And then the plot getting into action and stuff like that, which doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a big action scene or something. But yeah, when the action hits, it's riveting. The visuals are great. The plot itself is entertaining and mostly fast-paced, but it stumbles right before the finish line and gets lost in its own lore and themes, in my opinion. I would rank it on the same level as Little Witch Academia. Definitely not as high as Promare or Kill la Kill or Gurren Lagann. but it definitely would have profited from a 2-course season, I think. You know, giving more time to the characters, especially to Shiro. Like, we need to learn more about him. Like, the stuff that we learn about him at the end of the show, we should have learned, like, in a 2-course show, like, at the halfway point. And then you build from there and do something more with that. Then I can deal with the character development for him not being existent for the first half, if you do something in the second half then, which I don't do here, really. And, yeah, you know, Michiru stuff is good, Nazuna stuff is good, but everyone else around them could have used a bit more time. You know, we learn nothing about Mari, really, and she's like the first character, one of the first characters we see in the show. It's like, okay, what's her story? Like, she's fun. I would like to know more about her. We don't get that. And it's like the nice couple, more about Pinga the Albatross, who's kind of an ex-soldier. And, you know, there's so much stuff they could have done with the characters here, and they really don't. They just focus pretty much on Michiru and Nazuna, which is fine. Like I said, it's good that they at least focused on some characters and did something with them. But, you know, at least Shiro would have deserved more. And it would have been nice for the other side characters to gain a bit more development and have them take a bigger part in the finale as well. So yeah, it's a bummer they didn't do that. There's definitely potential for improvement here. Yeah, Michiru, Nazuna, and maybe Shiro aside, every character in this field is really undeveloped. We needed to learn more about the different people of Anima City to really care for them, and the city itself, which is also a thing. Like, you know, the threat that is coming up in the later part of the show is about losing not only the people in the city, but also losing the beacon of hope, the beacon of idealism that Anima City portrays when it comes to what the mayor was trying to do with it and everything. And since we don't really get to learn that much about the city, we mostly see the negative sides, aside from the people having a big festival in the beginning, and then, you know, some of the side characters being nice people. But a lot of episodes is like, yeah, no, Anima City is kind of a shitty place. And we needed to see more sides of the city to, you know, feel for it, to feel for the people living in it, to gain some sympathy for it, and, you know, for its plight, for the plight of the mayor, for the plight of the people living in it, how much it means to people actually living there in freedom, being able to be what they want to be, being free of the prejudice from humanity and everything. And we don't get that much of that, or not at all. And we needed all of that. We needed all of that to feel more about the finale and, you know, the danger that was encroaching on Anima City and its denizens. So, yeah, it's not in there. It's kind of a bummer.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I still enjoyed the show for the most part. You know, there's enough stuff happening. There's enough fun things to see. Great animation. Like, the production values on the show are great. There's nothing to complain here, in my opinion. It's a Trigger show, so I wouldn't have expected that. But story-wise, it's just like, could have done more, and you kind of did it better and more effectively in shorter time with Promare and with more bombast as well. Yeah, if you want to see something done in that kind of universe, but much more effectively, with some of the same themes, definitely watch Beastars. Like, that, Beastars is doing this so much better and so much more effectively. So yeah, this also the same length. So there you go. It's also, yeah, if you want to check it out, all 12 episodes are on Netflix. Same for Beastars. Brand New Animal was fine. It's nice Trigger hijinks, but don't expect too much from the story. It's all right, but if you want to see that story done better in a way, watch Promare. And if you want to see it done very differently and much darker and definitely deeper and more compelling and complex, watch Beastars. So, yeah, BNA was energetic and fun, and at times trying to be thoughtful, but ultimately it was a bit more forgettable than I expected.
So, next up, we go from furry stuff to fatherhood stuff.
Sure, why not?
They both begin with F's. It works. Alliteration.
Well done.
Kakushi Goto, also localized under the name My Dad's Secret Ambition. So
In anime, stuff like a sentence like that worries me for some reason. I don't know.
I mean, if you don't know what it's about, yeah, but so Kakushi Goto is a weekly manga artist known for his ecchi action titles like, and I hope you're ready for these names, Balls of Fury
Yes.
and Tights in the Wind.
Fantastic.
But he decided when his daughter Hime was born that he would be mortified if she ever found out. Rightfully so.
Yeah, I can understand.
So he has always disguised his true occupation from her. To that end, he leaves his home in a business suit every day, only to change on the way to the apartment he uses as a studio. Only when Hime turns 18 will she be allowed to learn the truth. But that means there are several close calls as she's growing up, including an incident where a new young editor mistakenly goes to visit Kakushi at his home rather than at his studio, and another where Hime and friends, on a quest to find the rescuer of a cat, almost encounter Kakushi in his quote-unquote real work clothes.
Oh, no.
That is...
I wonder what they look like.
That is to say, just, raggy old t-shirt and shorts.
Oh, I was expecting Ahegao shirts or something.
No.
Hey, might as well.
I mean, I don't remember if he wears anything in Ahegao on it, but, this is definitely a story of a father-daughter relationship, and it's pretty... The relationship between father and daughter is pretty wholesome. As much as it can be, given Kakushi's chosen profession and chosen material. This is handled by people at the studio Agiato, which we've brought up, I believe, before during Izetta the Last Witch.
Oh, were they responsible for that? I didn't remember that. I was wondering. It's like, hey, yeah. I don't think I've heard the studio before. Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, and they've done some other stuff like both seasons of Genshiken, which is very much in the vein of Kakushi Goto and anime and manga, and there you go. They worked on Ascendance of a Bookworm, and I guess the movie and OVA for Fairy Tail. I don't know, Fairy Tail isn't a hole I've dived down. I think did you a little bit?
Yeah, I watched it for a while. I mean, it's definitely a One Piece ripoff, for all intents and purposes. But it's got some fun characters and some great music, so I watched it for a while, but animation quality wasn't too great, and it didn't really get better, so... I don't know. I was like, I'm going to stick with One Piece. It's fine. And I didn't keep watching it.
Yeah, I remember hearing that Fairy Tail kind of goes up and down.
I didn't watch the movie, though, or the OVA, so I don't know. Maybe those look better. I mean, I remember Izetta looking pretty damn good, especially the dogfights.
Oh, yeah. Izetta was bang on. It was awesome. The show doesn't need that sort of wild animation style, though, because, it's much more slice of life. It's much more laid back. There's some neat style choices and some little attention to detail. Like during the opening sequence, there are these background elements behind Kakushi and Hime, and the ones behind Kakushi are they're very anime-esque, or manga-esque and stylized, and not super wild looking, but you can tell they're trying to go for more of a comic book style on it. And this stuff behind Hime is more rooted in realism, and it looks a bit more like you would expect in real life. There's one shot in particular of them walking toward each other, and the grass under their feet, there's a clear division in style between how it looks. So, just even in the intro sequence, they kept up this whole secret sort of thing between the two characters. That's, really neat. And, just very subtly putting that in there was pretty cool. I definitely appreciated that.
That's good. But I think most of the production or animation budget would go in this kind of show would go into slapstick humor or character reactions or stuff like that.
of which there are many.
Yeah, there we go. So,
But yeah, the show was directed by Yuta Murano, who hasn't done a whole lot of directorial work outside of this. Done some episode direction. Like when I was looking through their credits, I just kind of picked the stuff that I feel like would be recognizable, at least to me. Did some episode direction on Phi Brain, which is a show I don't think we've ever talked about.
God. No, I remember. Isn't that like a game show that goes into a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 1 territory?
Yes, it was this weird show that was produced by Sunrise that was called Phi Brain: The Puzzle of God.
Yeah, there we go.
And it was a thing. It was weird, but I don't know. It got 3 seasons. I thought it was goofy. I ended up watching all of it. It was whatever. It was fine.
All right.
It was a very inoffensive but very silly show. Murano also did some storyboarding on Dragon Ball Super, so hey.
Hey.
And the scripting was done by Takashi Aoshima, who's done some stuff like My Goddess. We talked about Gabriel Dropout 100 years ago. Or I talked about it, rather.
It's been a while.
Umaru-chan, which I guess is decently popular, or it was for a while. Brave Witches, which again I talked about. It was sort of hot and cold on that. And Yuru Yuri, which is a thing you can watch. That show's weird,
Ring
man.
endorsement by Mr. John. I won't tell them your last name. So,
a mutual friend of ours was like, "Hey, you should watch this." And I watched like maybe 2 episodes. I was like, "I'm good." It's not inherently bad, but it was just sort of like I could live without it.
yeah.
But
A lot
the
of
big
that
name,
is going around these days.
yeah. But the big name behind this is the original manga creator, one Koji Kumeta. And if you are familiar with a certain other manga called Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei,
Yes.
there you go. It's definitely his humor, his style, like to a T. Like I remember looking up or seeing the first PVs of this. I was like, this looks a lot like SZS, as it were.
And for people who don't know Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, what does that mean? The same kind of style in terms of humor and everything?
Just very sort of like deadpan to the point jokes. I mean, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei was a bit more, I don't want to say gallows humor, but it was darker.
No, that fits.
It was darker in tone.
Oh, definitely. There were lots of jokes about maybe suicide or death in general. So,
and I mean, let's be real, despair is in the title.
Yes. So, I don't know. I assume this kind of stuff isn't in this one.
No, it's not the dark humor of Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, but it's got the same sort of like these close zoom ups on the face and just loud yelling like sort of reactions.
All right.
Down to the point where Kakashi is the same voice actor as the main character of Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, Hiroshi Kamiya. So it's, I wouldn't say it's the same character, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
I wonder if there's a self-insert thing for the writer. Like, hey, I'm this character, but I'm also this character.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, it makes sense, right? You know, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei being a thing where he, which details his despair in the way of becoming a writer and everything, and a manga artist, and then he maybe got a daughter, and now this is something he could imagine. So who knows? I'm just making shit up, but you know, it kind of could make sense. You know, transferring from one thing or one theme to another. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't actually know if Kumeta is married or has children or anything, but yeah, this definitely feels like a very sort of self-deprecating humor, you know, because I could definitely see this, like we just said, being a mirror of the of the author self. So the story of this show it's mostly pretty straightforward. It's Kakashi trying to keep the his secret from his daughter, but he's got a good heart. He's got a good heart. He's trying to be there for her. There's talks of hey, I'm gonna have my birthday party, but the Hime is she's very impressionable. Bless her heart. She's a good girl, though.
I mean, that name was probably given to her for a reason.
Yes, I mean, yes. She wants to, be a good daughter, but she doesn't want to get in the way, But there's this one episode where it's like, well, I want to have a birthday party, but I don't want to push us beyond our means and all that because she does, because Kakashi does decently enough with his manga. He is a known name, and he's able to sell comics with his product. He sort of. I didn't touch on this yet. He's a secret father, or Jesus Christ, he's a single father.
Lots of people out there being secret fathers. That's the thing, definitely.
God damn it! You know what?
Yes, no, it's fine. It's just
he's a single father.
Yes.
I'm never gonna live down some of this shit. We don't know really the details of what happened to his wife, but we know
probably got anime mom disease, which means she probably died off screen or something.
Oh no, she definitely died. We know that, but
there you go.
We don't know really the how or why. It's not really super touched on. We just know that she ain't around no more, and it's sad,
Okay. So they don't make light of that, or they don't completely ignore it. I mean, you said we don't know what happened to her, but they actually try to make it a topic, like Hime saying she was her mom
definitely.
And stuff. Okay,
they acknowledge that, but they don't go too far on the details of the why she died. Just
maybe it would have dragged down the tone of the show too much to go too much into it. Because on the surface, this sounds like it's definitely more of a lighthearted show, like maybe in the vein of Sweetness and Lightning or something.
Yeah, a little bit
with a side of edgy humor or etchy humor. But anyway, both of those things.
But yeah, one of the other secrets that Kakashi tries to keep from his daughter, and it's not at the forefront of the important secrets to keep, but is Kakashi's father-in-law, Kairi. They don't have a great relationship, but Kairi
because of Kakashi's choice of work, or
it's basically ever since Kakashi's wife passed.
Oh, okay.
But, they don't see eye to eye. But Kairi cares about his granddaughter. So he is willing to shell out for things for her because he may wants to learn the piano. And he catches wind of that. And suddenly there's a grand piano in their house.
Oh, no.
So yeah, he's just willing to be like, hey, you know what? I don't care about you, but my granddaughter, I'll do whatever I can or whatever she wants.
Hey, that's something. I mean,
so it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's what some families get.
So yeah, that's not quite the same as the open secret as the comic book art stuff, because Kakashi's studio he calls G Pro, and it's just in this little shithole of an apartment that he and his 4 assistants work in, and they're all eccentric to different degrees as well, but they all are like, we're gonna work with you on your comics, and I guess we'll try and keep the secret from your daughter as well. And it almost slipped several times.
Of course.
And the aforementioned editor, this little shithead, Satsuki Tomaruin, he almost, he very several times tries to let slip the secret to the point where Kakashi is like, "Oh, him? Yeah, he's the CEO of the company I work at. Don't worry about him."
I don't see how this could go wrong in any way possible.
Shut up! Don't worry about it.
Wait, so is the editor an asshole or is he just an idiot?
He's mostly an idiot, a little bit of an asshole.
All right.
Because he's like, yeah, hey, I'm here to pick up your comics to bring them to, the publisher, but I don't care about anything on the side. To the point where Kakashi gives, the comic to the editor. He goes to bring it to the publisher, and the comics go flying out of his hand, and oops, guess that chapter's gone.
Great.
to the point where one of his assistants is like, "Do you really think I would have given him the original? It was just a copy."
Whew.
So his assistants are on the ball.
Yeah,
also,
reliable people.
Also, I was just looking at their names. Apparently, every single one of the names is a pun, which is great.
Yeah, makes sense.
A different pun related to like either making comics or like whatever, like Satsuki Tomaruin. If you shift some of the syllables around, it becomes a reference to the phrase "stop the presses" in Japanese.
Not bad.
And there's little jokes like that, which honestly, with the names I didn't catch them, but looking at them now, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, yep, gotcha. So Kakashi also hires this girl to like take care of Hime on the side and to help clean up the house, do little things, to help out. This Indonesian migrant worker named Nadila, and she's this nice girl, and Tomaruin falls hopelessly in love with her and ends up doing all sorts of stupid shit because of that. And it's just this guy is just trouble for everyone. It's ridiculous. He's looking in on the house where Hime and Kakashi live, and he gets caught by one of the other side characters, and he's mistaken for a pervert because he's looking in on them. This character generally means well, I guess, but he can't keep it together.
A fuck up.
Yeah, pretty much. Back in high school, for me, saying that someone meant well was sort of code for like, yeah, mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this sort of carries over to that. But yeah, there's also these moments throughout the show. There's sort of like this A plot and this B plot. The A plot is pretty much everything I just talked about. Mm-hmm. The B plot is like these flash forwards that are 8 years later, where Kakashi has gone. He's gone missing. He's somewhere. We don't know where he is. Oh. We get these like breadcrumbs that the other characters know that things have. They sort of know what's happened. And Hime is already 18 years old, and she has been clued in on her father's secret. And this B plot sort of happens on and off throughout, and it's sort of weird because I don't want to go into spoilers, but in the last episode, there's revelations that are dropped on you, and it sort of happens all at once, and it's like, I'm sorry, excuse me. And it sort of has the same problem that when you were talking about BNA did, but to a lesser degree. Like, if you had given me one more episode, just one, I probably would have been a little more accepting of the things that happened. Especially there's this one character that shows up and he doesn't really have an impact on anything? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm blah 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 and blah about your father, and it's like, huh?
Okay.
Is this
out of nowhere or something?
And it's like, is this a necessary detail? And it doesn't feel like it.
So 2 questions.
Go on.
First, so they don't like do this flash forward thing at, like, say, the end of every episode where it's like, okay, we learned something about his past, and then at the end we put a cliffhanger where it's like, oh no, this is a callback to what happens in his past, and now it's a reveal or gives us a clue about where he might have gone or shit like that.
Not really.
Okay, that's a bummer. And also, was this an original anime? No, this is based on a manga, right?
It's based on a manga. The manga started in 2015, and it wrapped up about the time that this show finished.
So I would assume they have the same ending?
I assume. I honestly don't know. I should have.
Because you said, I was expecting maybe it's still going. So, you would get more, but if they have the same ending and you feel like, no, this feels a bit abrupt and everything, it doesn't sound like you have a chance of getting a more satisfying conclusion.
I mean, they sort of bring it around so that the conclusion is fine. But I would have liked some of the details in there to just have been expanded. Because the show ended mid-June. The manga ended early July. So it felt like, there would have been enough time. But, anime's production schedule is weird shit. So they probably just didn't have time to do it, which seems unfortunate. But what you going to do, I guess. Oh, I forgot something. Very important. Hime confronts Kakashi about halfway into the show. It's like, hey, I want to learn responsibility. And Kakashi's like, all right, okay, so what do you want to do? I want to get a dog. Yes. All right, let's get a dog. And they get this dog. It's a very cute doggo. And the first thing that Hime is tasked with is, all right, Hime, give it a name.
Oh, no.
A name? So they go to, the town hall to register the dog and give it a name. And the lady at the desk is talking to her. It's like, okay, what's the name of your dog? You have to register it. And she misinterprets what she's saying, because the word in Japanese for, to register your name, I guess, or something, is Gotoroku. Mm-hmm. And she's like, wait, Goto Roku. The dog's name is Roku. Roku Goto.
What?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
So they have a dog, and it's a cute dog, and they take care of it, and it's a good dog. Anime is good because it has a doggo.
Very much appreciated.
And it's nice because, it's, hey, she's very, again, Hime's very straightforward and she's very honest about it. And she wants, to learn to take care of the dog and to have responsibility. And yeah, so, hey, sure. All right, fine. But yeah, like I said, I think the only other really big neg I would put on the show, other than the way parts of the ending was, like, the actual conclusion itself was fine. It was very, heartfelt, and, I was like, okay, they sort of brought it around. That was good. The other weird thing was the American licensor for this show was Funimation, and sometimes High Dive did this in a weird way too with Pop Team Epic, where they decided, hey, let's put some liner notes in the episode to explain the joke so that you get it. And Funimation doesn't do it all the time, which is at least fine. But the first time they do it is when Kakashi is introducing himself. My name is Kakashi, and my chosen profession is illustration. Kaku Shigoto. And they put it in the subs and they explain it, and I'm like, You don't. Okay. For the people who get the joke, they'll get it. He draws Kaku for a living. Shigoto. Haha. That's also his name. It's also the name of the show. Hey! And they put it in there, and I'm just sitting there with my hand on my face like, all right, I get it. It's fine. Cool. It's great. And thankfully they don't do that too often, but when they do, it was like, okay, guys, stop.
I mean, I can see why they do it, because this is all about a lot of the stuff, especially when it's pun humor and everything, you don't get if you don't speak the language. But then don't do that. It's like in the dub, you can work around that. You can just make a different joke out of it, like entirely. And that's what good dubs do. Where it's like, okay, this joke just doesn't work in our language, so we have to come up with something else. Right? Or just ignore it. Don't make it a joke. It's like, okay, that's how it is. But if you're like watching a sub, you either have enough familiar with the language or you don't care. It's like, why? Like, okay, I'm not getting anything. Not all the different. One Piece is full of pun humor. There's so many puns of how characters speak, like. How they end their sentences relates to what they look like or what their profession is or whatever. That there's so much stuff in that, and there's so many fucking wordplays in it, and that is also not explained, and I'm fine with that. It's like you can do some of that, but you don't need to for the show to be funny. So it's just like, okay, if you really want to enjoy that, fucking learn the language. But if you have to explain the joke, it's not funny anymore most of the time. It's like, why even do it?
It makes me wonder, because there isn't a dub for the show yet, but I think they announced the dub cast either today or yesterday, pulling back the curtain a little bit. Today is August 20th. So I wonder how they will handle that when the dub comes out. When they put up the episode, I might have to, just go watch that little bit just so I can see what they do, if anything. So, we'll find out. Those minor gripes aside, I enjoyed this show a lot, and I really, really appreciated the relationship between Kakashi and Hime. It was very. It felt very natural. It wasn't like super ham-fisted or anything. Oh, I am your father and you are my daughter, sort of thing that like other shows that I've seen have done. It felt, very like, very natural, very just normal, as it were.
And it probably doesn't get into any icky territory. Like a bunny drop or something in the manga version. I mean...
No, it always feels pretty... I think, I said it earlier, I think wholesome is the right word.
Okay.
So, if you're looking for, a good father-daughter story with some weird humor on the side to spice things up a bit, Kakashi Goto is, generally a pretty good time. You can watch it on Funimation, and in other countries it looks like it's available on Anime Lab and Wakanim. So I encourage you all to give it a look.
And that is a wrap on the 98th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnimeBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
Believe in the power of your art.
And become the true Renaissance woman.